In many of our southern Canadian lakes, even though they're cold, there's lots of bays and shallow water that have lush aquatic weed growth. And one of my favorite fish to target there is the largemouth bass. While a lot of fishermen will use spinner baits and they'll use soft plastics to catch those fish, I like to target them with crankbaits. And I have no fear of going right to where the weed beds are and actually fishing a crankbait in the open pocket and right along the shore where the weeds are some of the thickest. I know that largemouth bass, especially those that are getting larger size, learn to feed on larger fish. And because of that, they'll actually leave those weedy areas and venture out into a little bit deeper water to grab a meal of a larger panfish or even a larger bait fish, and then go back into those weeds. Now you're probably wondering, how do you get those fish to come out, or how do you fish your crankbait? What I do is use a crankbait that has a very natural action, and that's a balsa wood body so that it floats very quickly. And one of my favorite is the shad wrap, and especially in the live series that looks just like the bait fish that the largemouth like to feed on. So what I do is start by casting to the weeds that are very close to shore, and I'll cast where I see an open pocket, and then I'll work that shad wrap so that it dives down only about 2 or 3 inches below the surface. And as the water gradually gets deeper, I'll crank it a little bit deeper and it'll dive down to 4, 5, even 7 feet. But as soon as I visually see a weed come up, I actually let that shad wrap come right up to the surface, and then I crank it down again. Sometimes the largemouth will hit it when I'm cranking it and it's diving down, but a lot of time when it's rising. So it's amazing when you can actually see the largemouth come up and grab that shad wrap. If it's overcast out, I'll use some of the brighter colors. If I'm fishing in the middle of the day and the skies are bright, I try to use the most natural finish crankbait because I know I got to get those fish to come out, and because of the low light, they don't see as well. The pause and go or stop and go presentation is the key when you're fishing around shallow weeds and you target largemouth bass using a crankbait.